Okay, shalom everyone. We are part 2 of the Passover study from the Zohar and the Arizal. The first part, we studied about the original text, Exodus 12. So we spoke about the whole idea of the matzah, that it was basically ordered already in the new moon, that in the full moon, the 14th day in the afternoon, the lamb is going to be slaughtered, and the blood and it's going to be eaten after it's going to be roasted over open fire. Then you have to eat it with matzah and bitter herbs. So that was said 2 weeks earlier. So we asked the question: so why the matzah? And the answer was that Passover is the holiday of freedom, and you need, in order to connect to that frequency that is called freedom, you need to go beyond what is called the desire to receive for the self alone, what we call the bad ego, and that is being represented by the rising dough of the 5 grains that they rise, and you can make bread out of them. Okay, and so how do we overcome that negativity that we all carry within ourselves? We eat the matzah, and the matzah is the potion, the remedy against that negativity. Then when the ego swells and you're blocked and there's no light that can come in. On the night of the Seder, which is a night of Passover, the holiday of freedom, freedom is available only when we are enlightened. And you can't be full of yourself and enlightened at the same time. So that's basically the background. So we covered that. We spoke also about the cosmic evolution, the evolution of humanity, that the Exodus was a very important part of it, and all the consciousness behind that, and that the fact that humanity reached a place in which the idea of freedom and the human right to be happy must be born, and that was basically the procedure of the Exodus to deliver that idea of the freedom of a human being, the freedom from the evil inclination. And then we completed it with Rabbi Nissim Peretz's teachings, which means that somebody that is very careful on the night of Passover not to have any hamets, any leaven, and not to eat, of course, not to eat it, and also to do the whole Seder night tradition, which is eating the matzah and the bitter herbs and the 4 cups of wine. That you have to do it with the desire to receive the huge amount of enlightenment that is being projected in the universe every year in the full moon of the month of Aries. And that will give us freedom from evil inclination for the whole year. Okay? So, but then the question is, how can we promise somebody that if you don't eat leaven during Passover, the 7 days of Passover, you will never sin? That's impossible, that a human being has no evil inclination. We see that even somebody who's really observing Passover properly still has the evil inclination. And the answer is, of course, we will have fights and challenges with the evil inclination, but we have more probability to win, because if we do not feed the evil inclination on Passover, so the whole year long, we have more chances to have victory, because that is the source of freedom when we have the freedom to take control over our negativities, which is fears, selfishness, any kind of emotion that disconnect us from happiness, from real, true, authentic happiness, excitement, and free thinking. So now we know that during the checking of the hamets, there is a custom that Rabbi Zaklura is teaching, but it's a very spread, well accepted custom. And what does it mean, the night of the checking of the hamets? The night before Passover, okay, after the night starts, the custom is to take 10 pieces of bread, of course, wrap it in paper so it doesn't spread after the house is already clean. And those 10 pieces of bread, they correspond to the 10 sephirot, the 10 levels of the dark side. Okay, they have to be really, as we said, carefully wrapped in paper. And one person will hide it, and the other person will look for it. And that they should be put on the floor in a place that it's, that you're not going to put it in a place that it's so hidden so well, you weren't able to find it, and that's not really a good idea. So the consciousness of that ceremony is to remove the 10 sephirot, the 10 levels of darkness and negativity, and remove it from the household. Okay, and especially to concentrate that we want to remove those 10 sephirot of negativity that are connected to our soul. And he adds, Yeduim divrei Rabbi Brisk Zatzal, the rabbi of Brisk, of blessed memory, that said that all the mitzvot of that night of Passover, it's very easy to observe. Okay, eating matzah, okay, you don't need to be such a bright human being to eat the matzah and drink 4 cups of wine, or to eat some parsley or whatever other stuff. But there's one halacha, but there's one law that is very hard to observe. And that law says that every generation, each one of us must see himself as he's coming out of Egypt. Which means, you have to see yourself, really identify yourself as coming out of your own Pharaoh, from your own Egypt, from your own narrow place. It's not just a memory, tradition. So we remember a religious idea. No. Yeah, it's very hard to have that state of mind that today, right now, that's what I'm doing. Today, this year, I'm going to be redeemed from my own Pharaoh, from my own Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, from my own Mitzrayim. You hear the similarity, Yetzer, Mitzrayim, same Egypt, and the evil inclination, the same sound. ובאמת שצריך האדם להרגיש בעצמו שכל הדברים שאנו עושים פסח הזה, זה לא איזה זכר בעלמא, it's not a tradition. It is really tapping into the same powers so we can experience a similar experience. We just activate that old melody, so we play the same play, so we experience the same experience with the same results coming out of Egypt. So that's what we have to feel already starting from collecting the 10 pieces of bread on the night before Passover, to remove the evil from within ourselves. Okay, so how is that being done? In most Haggadahs, Passover Haggadah, you have in the beginning that ceremony, and this the major thing is, as I said, after it's night, after it's dark already, you light a candle. Most people turn off the lights. And then there's a prayer to say, the different, it's not, but the most important thing is to say the blessing of removing the hamets. So that is one thing. And then you don't talk. So one person, could be the whole family, but one person is holding the candle and going around the house. Now, the pieces of hamets that you find, these are corresponding to the 10 sefirot, going from Malchut, the first one, all the way up to Keter, the sequence of the 10 sefirot. You don't touch it because it's negativity. So if you live in a Jewish neighborhood, you can take a special hamets checking kit, and usually you have in that kit you have a simple wooden spoon, but everyone can get something like this, and a feather. So with a spoon and a feather, you pick up the piece of hamets that you found, and you put it into the bag. So that's how because you don't want to touch that piece of negativity. 2 pieces of cardboard can do the job easily, so you don't have to do that. But just the idea is not to touch that piece, put it in a paper bag, and till you find and you go around the house looking for the hamets. Well, basically, you're collecting from the household, from the family, from the people living in the house, and from yourself, all the 10 levels of negativity. So you take them away with those 10 pieces. You leave that bag with the 10 pieces on the side in a special place so you don't forget where it is. And in the morning after, just the morning before the Passover night, we're burning the hamets. Okay? So we set up a little fire. So that's why you should make sure that the pieces of hamets are not too big, so it's easy to burn them. Okay? In Israeli neighborhoods, you have like corners with fire. In Jerusalem, they put in every corner special like steel big containers, so you can put inside all kinds of pieces of wood and paper and bring the hamets from the whole neighborhood and burn it, and people gather from everywhere to do that. But if you don't live in a place like this, so you make a little bonfire and you burn the hamets. So when you burn the hamets, the meditation, according to the Zohar, is to remove the hamets within ourselves after we identified it and isolated it. And when we burn that hamets, we have to meditate, says the Zohar, that we are by this diminishing the power of evil and Satan in the whole world. It's a very powerful meditation while standing in front of the fire. A lot of people write down on a piece of paper all the traits they possess that they identify as the evil inclination, and they want to get rid of it. So you put it on a piece of paper and you put it in the bag and or throw it into the fire. And as it says, the text of the blessing over the checking of the hamets in the night before and the burning after the burning, there's a text after the checking of the hamets. There's a saying, hereby I annul any connection, any ownership I have of any hamets in my possession that I've seen, I didn't see. Simply annul that connection. We don't want to have any more connection with that negativity. So either you find it in the holiday prayer book or in the Haggadah, but there's the text to say, and you say the same text again after you see that most of the hamets is burned, then you say the same text again in the morning before the Passover night. Okay, any questions about that? It's called bi'ur hamets, the removing and getting rid of the hamets, the physical and the mental. No questions, everything is clear? Okay. So now we're coming to the night of Passover. It says in the Zohar Exodus, Zohar Parashat Shmot, verse 320, whoever has a Zohar of the Sulam with translation. Amar Rabbi Elazar, Eloah shel Mitzrayim se haya. The God of the Egyptians was a lamb. V'tziva HaKadosh Baruch Hu lasot bo shvatim, and God ordered to beat it up, to fight it. Lisrof oto ba'esh, to burn it over fire. Kemadat amar psilei Elohem tisafun ba'esh. It said so in the Torah that the statues of their idols you should burn in fire, and also that the smell will be carried away for far away. When you barbecue a lamb, the smell goes far away, and more. It had to be burned, as we spoke about it last time. The whole lamb, it should be shown that whoever passes by sees it's a lamb over the fire. And when you finish eating, throw the bones outside in a public domain. And that was the hardest for the Egyptians. And that meant really, really fighting and making really making fight against the Egyptians, which is fighting whatever symbolized their God. Amar Rabbi Yehuda be'Elohim mamash, but Rabbi Yehuda adds, and he says, really in their gods, because when they did that to the lamb, they made the conscious mental meditation to hurt their frequency of their angel. לקיים יפקוד אדוני על צבא המרום במרום ועל מלכי האדמה על האדמה. That will be that there's a result of the slaughtering of the lamb and the roasting on open fire was to destroy the power of Egypt. And the wizards of Egypt, they knew exactly what the Israelites are doing. Okay, so that was one thing that was about the slaughtering of the lamb and the roasting over fire and then to eat it. The next mitzvah is the Haggadah. Haggadah says, Zohar Parashat Bo, verse 179. The next thing is to tell the story of the Exodus. To tell the story of the Exodus. And that's called the Haggadah. The Haggadah is that text that is being recited over the table of the Passover night. כך העמדנו, כל אדם המספר ביציאת מצרים, ושמח בסיפור או בשמחה, every person who is telling the story of the Exodus, and is excited and happy telling that story. He's going, when he passes on, he is going to celebrate with excitement and happiness with the Shekhinah in the world to come. And that is celebration and happiness from all sides, which means internal, external, and so on. And then God himself is celebrating with the person who's telling the story of the Exodus. That's why we read and we tell the story of the Exodus on that night. Why do you have to tell the story of those miracles? God knows everything. You don't have to tell God. He knows it. He was there. He knows it. He knows what was, what is, and what will be later. Why do we have to tell God about stuff that he already did and he knows? But the person needs to do that, because when the person is telling the story, the words become beings, spiritual beings. And all the angels above, כל הפמליה של מעלה, מתקבצים ורואים אותם, that activates all the armies of angels above. Okay, and that really create an elation in all the worlds above. That's Zohar Bo, verse 182. So, just a few things. So right now, we go back to the story of the lamb and the plague of the firstborn. And the Zohar is explaining to us that when all the Israelites slaughtered the lamb, and with that state of mind, to destroy the gods of the Egyptians, to destroy their power. By the way, it's a very similar way, because it was found in the archaeological diggings in Egypt that the Egyptians were doing similar things about to the nations they were conquering and controlling and enslaving. They had special temples where they were putting black magic on those people they enslaved. So now when the Israelites did what they did, all of them together, a whole nation, that really created a mess in the power of the witchcraft and darkness and dark magic of the Egyptians. More than that, it created such a powerful, as the Zohar is explaining, EMP. EMP is, we said before, it's like when that's a doomsday weapon, that it's exploding a nuclear bomb high above the ground. So the nuclear explosion does not affect the land because it's too high, but it generates an electromagnetic pulse of such a magnitude that it fries down any electrical device, which means after EMP, like this electromagnetic pulse, no computers working. So which means no electricity, everything's computerized, no cars, because all the cars are working on some computerizing systems, no water, no fuel, no cellular, no computers, nothing. Going back to the Stone Age. That EMP that was created by the slaughtering of the lamb, and later on also eating it with the matzah and the maror, at that night of the Exodus at midnight, there was this EMP, and it fried the network of the Egyptians. Who were the servers of that network? The firstborns. So what happened? The firstborns were fried because the firstborn in Egypt was raised to witchcraft, dark magic, in order to control and subjugate the nations around. That was the job of the firstborns. All of them were in that clan, in that cult of that activating that power. Now, the firstborn were on that network. That network was flooded with this pulse of huge energy at that night at midnight exactly. And the firstborns were fried to death. And that was the plague of the firstborn. So when we speak the Haggadah, Rabbi Zaklorei is saying, we do Pesach. If we take the word Pesach, there are few meanings for that word. The simplistic meaning in Hebrew means to hop. To hop and to hop over, to jump over. So the simplest thing is that on that night, the firstborns of Egypt died, but the angel of death passed over, hopped over the houses of the Israelites because they were inside the house and they had the blood of the lamb on the two doorposts and the lintel. However, that was, as we said, that was painted as the Hebrew letter Hey. And because of that, that saved the Israelites. Another meaning for Passover, for Pesach, is to hop, which means that on that night, we get so much spiritual light that enables us to hop from one place where we are at all the way up to the levels of prophecy in one evening. So that hop, that we can jump a quantum leap into the highest level of prophetic experience. If we just meditate and concentrate and anticipate that. So this is so powerful. This is so amazing. And that's another meaning to the word to pass over. Okay? But there's another meaning. Rabbi Zaklorei is saying, Pesach, the two syllables, Pe means a mouth. Sach means, there are two meanings. One, the number, Samechet, is 68, life. When we say the words of the Haggadah, we bring down the light of wisdom, Chaya, Chaim, which is the level of Chokhmah. There's Keteh, Chokhmah, Binah, Zerapin, Malchut, from the 10 Sfirot. Chokhmah is the second level. Chokhmah is also called Chaya. So it's the energy of life that we bring down to the world by speaking the words of the Haggadah. So that is when you connect to the energy of life, you simply connect to true, real happiness and freedom. Another thing, one of the most famous parts of the Haggadah is the part that the children sing and the adults follow them. Ma nishtana halayla hazeh mikol halelot. Ma nishtana. What's the difference? What's the difference between this night and the other night and all the other nights? שבכל הלילות אין אנו אומרים הלל בלילה אפילו פעם אחת. Along the Hebrew calendar, there's only one night that we say Hallel. Hallel is being said during holidays in the morning. The only night that we say Hallel at night is the night of Passover. And not once, twice. You don't say the Hallel not on Rosh Hashanah, not on the night of Sukkot, not on the night of Yom Kippurim. Don't say Hallel. Why? Because during the prayers, we never reach that level of the Hallel, only on the night of Passover. And not just that we say the Hallel, we say it twice. Once in the evening prayer in the synagogue, and the second time, it's the Hallel during the Haggadah, the reading of the Haggadah. The Hallel is made from few chapters of Psalms, but it's Hallel, praising, Hallelujah. Hallel means praise. Yeah, God, praise God. So we say the Hallel in the synagogue, which means the evening prayer, and then also during the Haggadah. So this is a very, very high frequency of that night. It's not a simple night. And that hints what the sages said, the ancient sages, that on that night, Balayla Shiatsu Avotet Mitzrayim, the night of the Exodus, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Eir Aleim Et Halayla Kmo Emtza Hayom B'Tammuz. The Creator shined that night like noon in July. If you can understand what does it mean, in midsummer, midday, okay? The light was so strong that night, okay? So Rabbi Ezekloria explains, and also the Rashash Rabbi Shalom Sharabi, what does it mean? It means there are spiritual illuminations that appear only once a year, which is the night of Passover. And that illumination of that night was not an illumination of a night at all. It was an illumination that appears only during daylight. That's how strong the light that appeared that night. Why? Because the Israelites were subjugated to so much negativity, so much witchcraft, so much physical abuse, so much oppression. For them to go up and to prophecy and getting out of Egypt in such an amazing march to freedom, they needed to go through a transformation, much beyond post-trauma, much beyond anything. That could happen only when they are so much enlightened. And the only way to do it is growing up that night from a slave to a free prophet. That is the light and the shining that is available every year on the night of Passover. So we learn that it says in the Zohar that on that night, there is a union, cosmic union, above that is beyond our imagination, beyond the level we can ever be in this state of existence. And Rabbi Zakura explains that during the night of the Seder, we receive the lights that is the same levels of awareness that, you know, when a child is born, he has a first level that is called Katnut Rishon. Okay, it's a baby. Later on, as a child, years later, you get a second level of Katnut, but it's a child consciousness. But you know, a baby and a child is not the same thing. On Bar Mitzvah, you get the first Gadlut. You have the ability to see the world as a grown-up, but there are two levels of a grown-up. The first level, it's on Bar Mitzvah. The second, you can get it on the age of 20. That level on the age of 20, if you really work on Bar Mitzvah, you can reach finally to prophecy. All four levels enter our domain at once, what usually takes a lifetime. Okay? And that is the special thing about Passover when it says in the Torah that they ate in a hurry. What's the hurry? They left Egypt only in the morning after. No, it is to show that there is a pressing force of all those downloads of consciousness that it takes a human being sometimes only a lifetime to achieve Now we get all of it at one night. So let's read the words of the original text of Rabbi Zakloya. אולם בפסח הקדוש ברוך הוא העיר והוא גאלה מיד בגדלות ראשון ושני בבת אחת. On the night of Passover, what shines first is the greatness, the consciousness of a grown-up who is a real spiritual prophet. That comes in every Passover night immediately. Why? Because אם הקדוש ברוך הוא היה גואל אותם בהדרגה, קודם אחרים דקטנות, אחר כך הגדלות ראשון, אחר כך הגדלות שני, לא היו נגלים. If the levels of consciousness were coming in a sequence, evolutionary sequence, there was no redemption. They would be falling into the depths of the 50th gate of negativity. So in order to remove any hold of the dark side, the highest levels of consciousness had to enter first. And that's why he hopped, he passed over. And that's a great awakening of light and programming, like upgrading of our consciousness is happening every year in the night of Passover. And that's what we're supposed to meditate upon. So the lights of redemption that receive in the night of Seder, they come in two stages. The first stage is the internal lights, the light of the interior. And that comes through the evening prayer. And then when we sit to the Seder meal, we receive the external lights, okay, of that special force of redemption that every year on that night, redemption is descending to the world and we just need to call it in. How do we call it in? The state of mind and the actions, the prayers, the meditations, doing the physical actions as it's being detailed in the Haggadah. ומה שנושאים את חג השבועות מיד למחרת ליל הסדר. So why didn't we have Mount Sinai revelation immediately afterwards? Why did we have to wait 7 weeks? So simply, according to the Arizal, התשובה לכך דכל הנעשה בליל הסדר, הכל נעשה מזיווגה דלה מסתרה דלה. Whatever is happening on the night of the Seder is happening from above. It's a gift that is being given to us. What we have to do is just clean the house from hamets, make the Seder meal, and that's what, and all of that light of the above is flowing into our body, into our souls. That light is coming from God, not from our actions. We just allow it in. We just open ourselves to receive that. If we do not do that, which means if I'm not aware it's Passover, or I'm aware it's Passover, but I think that Passover is just a tradition, I don't get it. But even though I am aware and making all the meditations, what do I get? I clean the house, I ate matzah, I don't have hamets, I ate the bitter herbs, and for that I get the light of redemption, the light of prophecy. There's no equal work between the value of my work and what I receive on Passover. And therefore, because we are passive on the night of Passover, we receive that light, we receive that enlightenment, so we get a taste of how does it feel to be really, truly happy, content, and free. But still, the light goes away the next day. If you want the light, now you have to work for it and to draw that light through the counting of the Omen. What we receive on the night of Passover is all the light that we received during the 49 days of the counting of the Omen. But now it's spread over 49 days. After we paid for it on the 7 weeks of working hard, now we receive on the Mount Sinai Revelation day, which is the holiday of Shavuot. Now we receive the light of Keter. We don't receive the light of Keter on Passover, just the light of Chokhmah. Now in Shavuot, we earn all 10 levels, and that's the real high, that's the highest place. So now how do we do the kavanot of the Seder Haggadah? According to Kabbalah, unless there are questions. Okay, no questions.
Rabbi, so the first is the internal light, which comes from the prayer.
Yes.
What's the other one?
That the outer lights, external lights. Every illumination has internal and external. Okay? So the prayer is internal because it's only prayer, words. The Seder is physically eating matzah, drinking wine, eating bitter herbs, right? So that's external because you need to bring the lights that affect the physical aspect. That's what's happening during the Haggadah.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, so in order to receive the light on that night, we need to connect to the tree of life. And that's happening as we use the Haggadah, the Haggadah. The first thing is building the upper three, Chokhmah, Bina, and Da'at. These are the upper three Sfirot, and the other three Sfirot, they are being represented by the matzot. Now, there are few ways you can put the matzot. This is a very typical, elaborated Ashkenazi Seder plate. You have 3 stories. You put in each one of them one of the matzot. There's a curtain around them. And on top of it, you put the 6 different kinds of food of the Seder plate. The Sephardim, they put the 3 matzot. They have 1 plate, and the 3 matzot are put in a bag just behind, on the table, just behind the Seder plate. Okay, when it's a little bit sitting on the plate. Okay, now, how do you take 3 matzot and make them Chokhmah, Bina, and Da'at? You have to be using the idea of voice activation to activate the 3 matzot. And Rabbi Zakuri is saying that the first matzah, which is the upper matzah, okay, when we put that matzah, it's a simple matzah. But when you say, this is Chokhmah, right column, Kohen, and then you meditate that the matzah is the letter Hey. And we spoke a lot about it on the explanation of the new moon of Aries. The letter Hey symbolizes reality, existence, okay? And it's also the letter that rules the sign of Aries. So the matzah is the letter Hey, and when we take that upper matzah and we put it in front of us and we say, this is Chokhmah, right column, Kohen, and we meditate on the letter Hey. In this letter Hey, we have to visualize that the letter Hey is composed of 2 parts. One is the letter Dalet, and the other one is the letter Yud. Okay? In a Torah, it is kosher to do it when you write the Hey, it's a Daled and the Yud. Okay, you put that matzah on the top. If you have a matzah bag, you have 3 compartments in the matzah bag. If you don't, you put 3 napkins. So you can put the matzot in between. Then you take the second matzah and you announce, this is Bina, left column, Levi. But here you contemplate on the letter Hey that is made of the letter Daled, and inside is the letter Vav. Later on, when we do Yachatz, we break matzah, we break this matzah, the middle matzah, which is the left column. What do you have to break? The left column. Then you take the bigger piece, which is Vav. Here, the Dalet looks bigger, but remember, every Hebrew letter is a number. The letter Dalet is number 4. The letter Vav is number 6. So which is bigger? 6. So that you take the bigger part when you break the matzah into 2 parts. One, the bigger one is the Vav, that becomes the Afikoman, and the smaller one is the Dalet that stays that goes back to its place. Now, the third matzah, Da'at, central column, Israel. This is the letter Hey that is made of 3 Vav. 1, 2, 3. 3 times the letter Vav. Vav is 6, 6, 6, 6. 3 times 6 is Chai, 18, the power of life. Okay? And we'll explain more of it as we go on the sequence of the actions on the Seder plate. So we put the 3 matzot with that consciousness. Now after we're doing that, we come to this lower 7. And the lower 7 is made, there's a Seder plate on the top right. On the top right, you have the Zohar, which is, they call it usually in the translation Shankbone. Now, if you go deep into the tradition, it's a roasted arm of a lamb. You don't have a lamb, you can put a chicken wing, or a lot of people put a chicken throat, roasted on fire. This is Zohar Chesed. Then on the left, Beitzah Gvura. You know what we need over here? It will be better if we go into the Passover Haggadah of Liv Kabbalah. Just a second, we'll find it. Oh, just a second. Okay, if we go to the Passover Haggadah of the Liv Kabbalah, you can download it from, you just type in Google, Liv Kabbalah Passover. You get the page about Passover, and then you have a line, you can says download Passover Haggadah, and you have it over there. Okay, so what you have over here, you have the abdikat, the checking of the hamets, the blessing, transliterated. Also, how do you say it? it's over there. And then we're coming to the Passover, the Seder plate. So you see over there, you see at the exactly how to do the matzah, the upper matzah, chokhmah, kohen. You have the Dalet and Yud, the Binah, Dalet and Vav, and you have it here, the 3 Vavs as a dot. Okay, now when we're coming to the Seder plate, on the top right, we have the Zohar, Chesed, that's how you pronounce it. And then on the left, you have the egg, which you put hard-boiled egg. Also, there's a custom to roast it on open fire before the Seder. And you say Beitza, Gvura, that's left column. In the middle, you put the maror, the bitter herb. Now, what do you use for bitter herb? The different customs, but the most common is lettuce, but this should be the outer leaves, the one who are more older and more bitter of the lettuce. You have to make sure you clean it very well. Just put it in water with the salt or with the soap for washing vegetables from all kinds of insects. And Ashkenazim, they add also horseradish. It's the same material of wasabi. But the wasabi is painted with green. The original is white. Okay, so that is the maror. Ashkenazim do both the outer leaves of the lettuce and the and pieces of the horseradish roots. Then on the right column, this is Haloset and Sfirat Netzach. Okay, and what is Haloset? Haloset is a mix of fruits and vegetables. It's fruits and spices. Okay, and we spoke about it already. You can also find, if you do live Kabbalah Haloset, you'll get the recipe. To get the recipe, and the recipe according now, the different customs. It's like the major custom is that he has ground nuts, dates, and apples. There's many customs, but the Arizal custom is much more complicated. Let's see later, which is made of 3, where were we? Okay, that's made of 3 spices: cinnamon, ginger, and spikenard. The easiest is lavender. Simply the flowers of lavender. This is the season, so you get those 3 spices. Now, the 7 fruits, you have dates, grapes. If you don't have grapes, wine is also okay. Else, what do you have? Figs, pomegranates, apples, pears, and forget it again. Those hard nuts, the small round nuts. It's not walnuts. The round small ones. Okay, and you ground all of it together, you mix them, and then you get the Haloset. That is a potion to sweeten judgments. On the left, you take parsley, and in the bottom middle, you put, that's Chazeret, here Karpas and Hod, Chazeret Yesod. Chazeret is the inner, more sweet leaves of the lettuce, and that's Sfirat Yesod. The plate is Malchut HaKeara, the plate. Okay, then we recite, after we set the Seder plate, we recite the 15 stages that already after everybody's sitting around the table, and then we recite together the 15 stages of the Haggadah. Kadesh, Urchatz, Karpas, Yachatz, Magid, Rachza, מוציא מצה, מרור כורך, שולחן עורך, צפון ברך, הלל נרצה. Okay, and then we start the Haggadah. You have Kadesh, and what you can see over here, you have over here the names of these different stages. You can scan here all the meditations from the Arizal, what's coming in. You say before every stage, you say the name of the stage again, Kadesh, like pushing the button. Okay, and then you have some of it translated, some transliterated. If you don't understand Hebrew, you should have a translated Haggadah with you together with that. And the Kadesh is the blessing of the wine. That's the first cup. So the first cup of wine out of the 4. So we get, remember the 4 cups, we get the light from Bina. The 4 pieces of matzah that we eat, we get the light from Chokhmah. Okay? And these are the lights of greatness and big thinking. So you have there, you can, if you download the Haggadah, you have the different steps, the blessings, what to say, how to say, transliterated, and the meditations, you can scan them. When we come to Yachatz, that is the stage that we break the matzah, the middle matzah, into 2. The bigger piece is the afikoman. It needs to be hidden, so that's why you put it in a different cover and you put it aside. In many households, the children are looking for it, they hunt for the afikoman, but the condition should be that if it breaks or falls on the floor, they get nothing. Usually in the end of the Seder, you need to eat the afikoman, that piece, which is in memory of the lamb, and that's the last thing we eat on the Seder night, and it's very important. Okay, then we have, in most Haggadot, you have more detailed explanation. Here you have just the meditations. Magid is telling the story, okay, telling the story. So if you don't know Hebrew, you need to take a translated Haggadah. This is not translated. What we have in the small letters is just a meditation. Ma nishtana layla hazeh, and then Avadina Inu. And later on, what we can also cover, every time we uncover the matzot, it's like we remove some of the cover, the cloth cover of the matzah, that's revealing some light. And then when we cover it, when we hold the wine. Okay, it's other stages is when we come to the 10 plagues. The 10 plagues, each one of them removed, if you remember, one aspect of the darkness that humanity generated from the sin of Adam till the Exodus, in order to reveal the life that God injected to the universe, and that was revealed by on the 2 tablets on Mount Sinai. So here, so what do we do over here? Every time we announce one of the plagues, so here you have it, Dam, Tzfardea. So you have the meditation, what klipa we remove by saying that plague. And when we do that, some people take with a pinky a drop of wine from the cup and drop it on the plate. You don't do it, that's negative force, you don't touch it. You take plastic plate, and with the cup, you just pour a little bit into the plastic plate. At the end, when we finish, everything has to be thrown into the garbage, okay? From the whole, everybody sitting around, because that's the darkness. Some people throw it from the window. If you live outside in nature, you can throw it in the window, but then don't throw the plastic. Okay, don't pollute. Okay. After that, the next, we continue with the Haggadah and all the miracles that happened. And then we come to the Maror. We start the Hallel. Okay, second cup. And you have the meditation over there, then washing hands. Before the washing hands, you say the 3 stages, because after washing hands, you can talk. You say Rachza, Motzi, Matzah. So you wash hands, you make the blessing, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu an netilat yadayim. You have it here. And then you take the matzot, and you make 2 blessings, Hamotzi, and then asher kiddushanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat matzah. Okay, here you have it. The first bracha, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. And then the second one, so the second blessing is recited while holding the top matzah and the broken middle matzah. Then we eat from them after dipping in salt. Okay, eating while leaning on our left. While leaning on the left, also we drink leaning on the left. It's the left is the negative side, so we control it. Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, shekidshanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat matzah. And then we eat 2 portions of matzah each person. After that, eating the maror, and you have everything is being explained. And the most important is in the end. Let's go back to our PowerPoint.
So Rabbi, we take the top matzah and the broken matzah. Which of the broken matzah?
The one we broke.
The dalet or the
one we broke on the half. The big one, we took it out of the table. That's afikoman, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's not going to be on the plate when we make the blessing.
The bigger one is the one that represents the vav because it's higher number.
The bigger one, yes. The bigger one is not on the plate anymore till the end of the table of the Seder. Oh. Okay, so you have here the maror, the tifer, everything is explained already. The maror is death in Gematria, overcoming death. That's why we eat it. Here we have the recipe. As we said, for the Haloset, the upper 3 sfirot, the spices, cinnamon, ginger, and nard, which some say is nardostag. It's a spike nard or lavender, easier to get, lavender. The 7 lower is grapes, could be raisins or wine, figs, dates, apples, pears, hazelnut, and pomegranate. Okay, and then we have the 15th stage, that's a Youdkevitch, upper 3 sfirot. The 4 cups, it's corresponding to the 4 letters of the Youdkevitch Vavkei. And you have the meditations of each stage. We spoke about the matzot already. And here when we break the middle matzah, separate the dalet and the vav. Okay, and then motzi matzah. We have also with the matzah 4 portions of matzah. We eat 4 portions of matzah. 1, 2 when you do a motzi and matzah. 2, another one when we eat the sandwich of matzah and maror, and the 4th one when we eat from the afikoman at the end of the Seder. Okay, the Passover Haggadah, we said already, it's about bringing the life in, and our job is one job, to remove negativity, darkness from our life. No angel of death, no evil inclination. Everything is sweetened in its root. So we receive the spiritual light of true freedom, at least for one day. But there's a question, can we get real freedom just by burning leaven, eating matzot and drinking wine? So the answer is the light stays only for that night and it disappears the next day. Now, after we tasted the taste of freedom and we brought in all the lights of Chokhmah and Binah, now we have the taste, we can work for it. And that is the 7 weeks of the counting of the Omer. And the counting of the Omer is earning all the light that we receive on Passover. So by the counting on the Omer, for 49 days, we draw in the lights that we got on the night of Passover. But now we do it. It's our job. On the first week, it's the tikkun of chesed, which is connecting or including the whole work. It's like the first one. And that's why there's so much light on the first 7 days of Passover. And that's why it's not simple days. It is Chol HaMoed. You can drive, you can write on the computer, watch movies, whatever, but talk on the phone, not like Shabbat, but it's better you don't work on this time and you're busy spiritually connecting to light. On the 7th day of Passover, the lights of the first week completely come in, and that's why it's a complete holiday, the 7th day of Passover. On that day also, we celebrate the splitting of the Red Sea and the miracle of the 72 names. And that's connecting to the miracle that comes from Keter. This is a little bit of the light we're going to get on Shavuot. And so 7 weeks of the Omer, that's another topic. And on Shavuot, we receive Keter. On the night of Passover, we reach the level of Chokhmah. But on Shavuot, after we worked for it, we receive the lights of Keter. Okay. There's a lot of materials. You can go through it, and to go to the detail, you can go download the Haggadah and to go through it. And you should have, as I said, Haggadah with translation, so you understand what you're doing, what you're saying. All the instructions are there. Wishing everybody happy Passover, an amazing light of freedom.